Welcome to the Flashcards podcast. We will be using the app called Flashcards. Make sure there's no space between it, and it looks like this. Now, the app symbol does change from time to time, but it does say flashcards. There are several of them out there, but we have chosen this one for its ease of use. It allows us to put in data with different modalities, auditory, visual pictures, and text, and does not require us to have wireless. So for right now, that is the one that we are using in our district and the one I'll be showing you today. Before we get started, let's make sure that you're prepared for the lesson. You'll want to make sure that you have a microphone, that you have the app called Flashcards on your iPod, that you have the worksheet called Worksheets for Memoreasy, Flashcards, and Spelldown. We'll be using that one again. And we're going to take a look at our photos and make sure that you have photos of all 8 planets. Let's check that out now. Go ahead and wake up your iPod. And on the front screen, you're going to find photos. If you don't see it, do a search for photos and go into it. What you're looking for is a folder called Planets. That's what you need to make sure you have. If you do not, pause this video, bring it up to me, and I will sync it with my mothership and make sure you get the pictures and are ready to go. Let's go ahead and get out of photos. And we're going to get right into flashcards. I want you to search for flashcards. We'll clear out what I had in there by tapping the X. Tap in flashcards. No space again. See how many other flashcard things we have, and there it is. And I tap it. As we come to the first screen, we'll see that they already have one entered for us called State Capitals that you can play with if you would like to pause the video, but we're going to go ahead and go on and take a look at our main screen. Just like in some of the other ones, we had lists or decks. They call theirs card sets. We again have the Edit button, which will allow me to delete any card sets. And we also have the plus that allows us to add more card sets. But let's take a look down here, and then we're going to ignore what's down here. Back up and restore. I said that this doesn't use wireless, but it is enhanced by wireless. You can set up on the internet a place that you store your flashcards and can back these up and restore a deck from a spot on the internet. But that is going to be a podcast in itself, so we're going to skip that for now. And we're going to go right to the plus sign and add a deck. I'm going to title this one Planets. And again, it is a good idea to put the date that you built this so you know if it's an old deck or not. Tap Save. And then you come to this screen. Now, I'm not going to go over the screen in depth right now. As soon as we enter planets, we will come back to it and talk about these. Now, we are going to use audio today, so go ahead and make sure that your mic is in. And before you get started on any deck, you want to make sure that you do some pre-planning. You want to know how best you study. And I've already done that for myself. And I've decided that when I go into a card, I want on the front a picture clue. Then I want the description, and I want audio of the description if I have a hard time reading that. And on the back of the card, I'm just going to have the planet or the word to see if I'm correct. Again, I could add audio if I want, but I pretty much have those planets down, so I don't need to take that extra step. Okay, so now that we kind of have planned what we want on our cards, let's go ahead and start making cards. It's the third link down here, and it says Cards. And go into it. And here we are at our card deck. I'm going to try to focus this just a little bit better, give it a second. Here we are, we have the plus sign down in the lower right hand corner. That is how we add. Now this import again is a Wi-Fi thing. We're not going to do that now. We're going to manually be adding them. I do think that this is a wonderful activity for kids to do and put in their own. I realize sharing is nice, but I think there is great benefit to entering their own information. Up here on the card details, I really don't want to put anything. If I want to put a single word as to what that card is, I can. I can put that this is going to be Mercury. But again, this is not a needed part. I'm just going to add it so that you can see. The most important thing, and let's just kind of cruise through this screen that we see, I have the front side. It allows me to add text, photos, audio, and change the size of the font if I want. I do not need to add all three. Again, I get to pick and choose what I want. And here I'm going to put picture, description, and audio, so I actually will have all three. But on the back side, I have the same options, and I'm only going to put the text on there, and I will leave the rest blank. As we come down here, we see that you can change the font color and the background color. Some students and teachers prefer to have a background color that's a little more soothing on the eyes, and you can just kind of play with adjusting these. I'm partial to yellow, so I'm moving the green and the red button and hit save, and so that will be my background. The font color on that always looks nice is black. So I'm going to move all these back to the darkest setting and get black and hit save. And I think the default is black. Topics we're not going to worry about, and we don't have anything to preview yet. So let's go back and start entering our first card. Front side, I said I was going to put in the picture, description, and audio. But let's start with the text, which would be the description. And I'm going to type in the first planet, and I'm also going to type in smallest. Again, this is for your studying, so if you kind of use a shorthand, that is okay as long as you know what's there. And go ahead and tap save. I'm going to come down here next to photos. It will automatically go to my photo album, and I can choose which planet is Mercury. Thank goodness I have a picture clue, because I wouldn't be able to tell. And I have my picture there. And now audio. What I want to do is, since I kind of use shorthand with the text, I might give myself a little bit more explanation with the audio that is totally up to the learner. I tap on audio. I have a record and a play button down here. I'm going to hit tap record. First and smallest planet, also the fastest planet. And then to play it. First and smallest planet, also the fastest planet. And stop, and I can put my microphone back in. Things are working well with that, so I might not have to check it each time. To get back to my main screen, I tap the upper left-hand corner to get back. And I see all three of those there. Now on my back side, I flick up and I'm going to just add text. So I tap in there and I'm going to type in Mercury. Notice that the shift key is highlighting and glowing, so I know the first letter is already going to be a capital. And if you noticed, it did predict it. I sometimes go too fast for that. And save. Okay. If I want to preview the card now, I can by coming down here and play. You'll notice that the text went over the picture. That is all right. You know, if it interferes, you can decide to take one of those elements off. If I want to flip it, I tap flip, and there is the answer. And then we tap done when we're done looking at it. Now, it looks great. All I need to do is save. Let's do one more together. Tap the plus sign. Again, details. Doesn't have to put it in there. I'm going to skip it so that you can maybe see the difference. I'm going to put text in here, and I'm going to do my clue here. So I'm going to type in second. And I'm not going to put planet because I know these are planets, so I'm just going to put second and brightest. Okay, and it did predict again, and I tap save. Next, I go get the photo. Now, I did find these photos for you guys. If you have wireless, you can hook up to the internet and download or copy and paste them in here, but I find it really beneficial to collect them all and then just sync them to my iPod when I need them. Go to audio. I need to make sure that my mic is in. Go ahead and place that back in. Second and brightest planet. I'm not going to bother playing it and go back. Now, the one thing I didn't do is change the font size. Did you see how that other one was small? I can tap it, and this little circle, I click, tap, hold, and drag, and can make the text larger. So if I know I don't have a big clue, I can make that text larger for myself and tap save. I can do the same down here to my backside, but let's go ahead and type in Venus and save. And I'll change the size of this one. I can make this pretty big because it's only one word. So let's zoom it all the way up and type save. And again, I can change the background color. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but let's preview. It's going to say second and brightest planet. Notice the bigger font. Flip it. And Venus, it's a little bit bigger. Okay, and done. I'm going to save this one. And I'm going to continue until I get all my cards done. I would like you to pause this recording and do the same for your iPod. Welcome back. I'm ready to add my last word, and I want to point out a couple things. Remember in that title or text box in the front, and I said, let's see what happens. Notice that when I did type a title in, it put it right here up at the front. When I didn't, it actually grabbed, oops, I tapped something. It actually grabbed the text from the front of the card, okay? So if the front of the card is actually the word or vocabulary word that you're working with, it will automatically go up there and you wouldn't need to type that. But in an instance like this where we're giving ourselves a clue, giving a better clue, and then an auditory clue to the card, that doesn't go up there quite as well. But let's go ahead and go back to cards. I'm going to add my last one, and it is Neptune. And so I'm going to continue to type that in. And it did predict again. And notice I've kind of shortcutted it just down to putting the 8th because that's one of the things that I need to learn is the actual order of them. But in my auditory, what I started doing is actually putting more of a clue to it. So I can decide to hit audio for a clue or just leave it with the shorter clue of 8th in the picture. I'm going to put 8th planet, a cold and distant world. And then I just need to type in Neptune. And kids will find that they really quickly catch on to changing the font size to what size they like and flicking up and tapping save, and they're good to go. I now have my deck and it's ready to work with. And I'm going to tap this going back one level in my card deck to this screen. Remember I told you I was going to go and show you this screen a little bit in more detail. So let's go ahead and cover the first thing where it's called Run. This is where I'm actually going to test myself with the cards. I'm going to remove my microphone first, put the lid on it and set it aside in my bag, and tap Run. And then I try to guess it, I flip it, and then it's going to say, okay, Jupiter. And again, if I couldn't read that very well, I could have put an audio to it, but I tapped correct or wrong, and I was correct. And then I go to next, and it comes to my next card. Again, I see that my font isn't really great here. I'm going to listen to the auditory clue. Oh, I know that's Earth. Let's flip my card. And sure enough, it was Earth, and I am correct. Oh, I accidentally hit flip, and I'm correct. I'm going to go ahead and tap the next button, and I'm going to continue through on my deck. Go ahead and continue through because I want to show you what the results look like later in that back menu. Pause the tape now. Welcome back. Now that we're done practicing our cards, let's go and take a look back at that front menu. Tap Done when you're done. And we're taking a look here at this screen. I'm going to try to focus in. I wish it was a little bit better. But let's take a look at the list down here. We've dealt with the first one and the third one where we run. I can rename a deck real easy there. But let's take a look at these boxes. These are Lightner boxes. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But what Lightner boxes are, let me take a look at the definition here, is the Lightner system in Cardbox for flashcards separates them into a number of different compartments. The compartments are then filled with our flashcards, and at first they're all set at level 1. That as a card is answered correctly, it moves back in the box, and so it's practiced less frequently. As you get them wrong, the cards are put it to the front of the box. So it's actually a studying system for students, which is brilliant. Let's take a look at boxes now that we've done a practice, and we have 2 boxes here. I have one box of cards that were answered correctly 0 times in a row, and then I have a box 2, which they have been answered 1 time in a row. As I continue to use these cards to practice, I will continue to get more boxes. Let's go back to my screen and let's take a look at our actual boxes that we have. If I tap on boxes, you'll see that I've only practiced once, and I now have 2 boxes. I have a box for incorrect and a box for correct. Those that were incorrect go in box 1. Those were correct go in 2. As I continue to practice, they will continue to build more boxes. Let's go ahead and back out of that and come down here to topics. I can also organize my different cards into topics, especially if I have words through the semester that are repeated. I may want to sort those. Now that's getting a little involved into flashcards and a little too deep. I kind of like to stop right here at boxes. The fact that it organizes it for me is good enough for me. But let's come down here to settings now. And I love this. I love the flexibility of this part of it. It's the run mode. Show skipped words. I can turn that on or off. If at any time I want to know what does that mean, I tap that little I. Oop, and see, I'm not, those eyes are so hard to get. And you're just going to have to rub around until you get it. It's almost like, I think, a little genie. And I'm going to, I'm glad it's causing me problems now, because it's going to cause you problems too. Let me see if I can just rub. I finally got one. Show skip cards. Here it says show skipped cards is on. Cards will show up while running whether or not they are set to skip. This includes if a card itself is flagged to skip, or if it only belongs to skip topics. So you can go through here and take a look. Show an order. I don't want to turn that on. I really like random. Repeat. So if I want it to keep going, show answer first. So this is flipping the card. So unlike Memorize, I have the option to put the question first and then the answer. I'm going to leave it right now, but I would challenge the kids that once they have them down, that they actually flip the question and answer side. Here, skip by number correct, skip by percent correct, and then smart study mode on. And what that is, and let me see if I can get to that, that's that Lechner box system that it is talking about. Oh, that little eye. I think I'm going to recommend to that app guy that he puts those little eyes over here to the left instead of right next to those toggle buttons. But that is the Lechner box system, and I want to keep that turned on because that is very, very, very useful. Let's go ahead and go back. And then we come down to import, which I'm going to skip because that requires Wi-Fi, and that will be in another podcast. Let's go back to card stacks and take a look at our front screen again. This concludes Flashcards app. I hope you enjoy using this to help yourself study. Thank you.